Welcome to the deep dive. We're cracking open a stack of source material you've shared with us.
Yeah, excerpts from a pretty captivating adventure story.
Exactly. And our mission really is to guide you through these pages, pull out the crucial nuggets, and help you get well informed about this fascinating narrative journey.
This deep dive takes us down a river. It's a very old part of the world, seen through the eyes of some children caught up in some pretty unexpected events.
All right.
We'll look at surprising facts, moments of quick thinking, and, well, the kind of encounters that make an adventure truly memorable.
Definitely. Think of this as us charting the course together. So let's set the stage. Right at the beginning, we're introduced to a group, some children, Bill, his wife, Mrs. Cunningham, and a parrot named Kiki.
Kiki.
And right away, travel plans are being made under sort of a bit of a cloud of secrecy.
That secrecy element is really interesting from the jump, isn't it?
Yeah.
Bill is deliberately holding back information about where they're going, specifically mentioning Kiki because, well, her uncanny ability to repeat things, including a spot-on police whistle, makes her a bit of a security risk.
A parrot as a security leak. That definitely sets a unique tone. And their transport adds another layer. After flying in, they're given a river launch, just at our disposal.
Having a launch of their own isn't just like a nice holiday perk.
Mm,
The text really highlights the excitement. My word, what a super holiday.
it does.
It feels significant. It hints that whoever Bill is or whatever he's up to, someone powerful is arranging this special treatment for them.
It definitely elevates the feeling it's not just a simple family vacation. The timing is precise, too. Departing by plane on Wednesday night.
Which brings them, fast forward a bit, to Barira, described as being near the borders of Syria. The text tells us it's a very old part of the world indeed.
And the initial impressions are immediate. The local people are seen as looking like Arabs or something, which, gives us a snapshot of the setting through the children's specific viewpoint.
Their temporary stop is a small, comfortable hotel, offers a brief moment of normality before they actually embark on the river trip.
Mm-hmm.
But even here, Kiki isn't exactly content to just be a quiet bird.
No, Kiki steals the show. Apparently, she's made welcome after the initial shock wears off, and her vocabulary is surprisingly extensive.
Right. Wipe your feet, shut the door, Polly put the kettle on.
And exact imitations, like coughing, it really amuses and sometimes scares the locals.
It's a great touch of local color and humor, too, showing how something seemingly small can become a real focal point. We also get a little description of the place of veranda, red flowers, enormous butterflies, paints a vivid picture.
It does. So from the hotel, it's on to the main event, Life on the River launch. The plan is to explore the river for, at least a week?
The launch itself is called a trim little vessel waiting by a jetty, and this is where they meet Tala,
Ah, Tala.
the native man who's going to be their crucial helper on this journey.
Tala is portrayed very positively, isn't he? Clean, neat, remarkably white teeth and a twinkle in his eyes. His job's straightforward. Look after ship and look after you.
Yeah, seems capable, but we're told he finds many English words difficult. That's a detail that kind of sets up potential communication, well, moments later on.
Good point. The launch sounds cozy small but big enough. The cabin below is apparently stuffy.
Yeah, which leads to the much more appealing plan of sleeping on deck,
Yeah.
under mosquito nets, of course.
And getting underway immediately brings that feeling of coolness, a nice breeze, a relief from the heat, I'd imagine.
Definitely. And the provisions are notable, too. The text says there's enough for an army.
Such nice food, even a fridge packed with butter and milk.
Right. This abundance, again, makes Mrs. Cunningham wonder,
Oh.
is Bill quite an important person?
That little detail keeps the mystery simmering, doesn't it? About Bill's real identity. Now, the river's name. Tala calls it the River of Adventure.
But Philip, one of the boys, immediately translates it in his head to the River of Adventure. That simple difference in, pronunciation and interpretation is really telling, isn't it? It foreshadows that, well, this might be just a route for Tala, for the children. It's explicitly becoming an adventure.
Yeah, Tala sticks to Adventure, but for the kids, and really for the story, it's the River of Adventure.
Which, as we'll see, turns out to be very, very apt.
So the early days are described as pretty quiet, peaceful, just gliding along. Bill even takes the wheel sometimes.
And Tala's cooking gets highlighted, a marvelous repast. A feast he apparently conjures up from tins and local dishes with all the trimmings.
Practical safety comes in too. Bill is firm that all fruit must be peeled. Don't forget that, please, he stresses. Good advice in any new climate.
Absolutely. They're observing villages, other boats, just the simple, soothing sound of the water lapping. Sleeping on deck sounds pretty idyllic.
Tired from the sun and wind, under stars that are amazingly large and bright. Only a night bird breaking the silence.
Kiki even thinks about imitating it, but decides against it, apparently. They see water birds in the morning, though Tala doesn't know their names.
This whole section really paints a picture of tranquil beauty, doesn't it? Sets a peaceful baseline before, well, before things take a sharp turn.
And that turn happens when they arrive at Ciné-Town. The text calls it a strange mixture of a town.
The first striking image is this palace. Looks new, but feels like it should be ancient and in ruins.
Which leads directly to that crucial revelation Bill makes. It's not a real town, it's a fake.
Wow.
The description is so vivid, a flimsy false front, just boards and canvas, only looking real from a distance, explicitly compared to movie sets.
That is such a powerful image of deception. A whole town built on illusion. What does that immediately tell you about the kind of place this is turning into? And maybe the kind of people they might meet?
Well, it sets up that theme of appearance versus reality that just weaves through the whole narrative. Things are definitely not always what they seem. And the rest of the town supports this. It's a mix of proper sheds, jerry-built shacks, and this curiously mixed population.
Adding to the strangeness is a really unusual sight, this procession. A beautiful woman on a bed carried by slaves, surrounded by magnificently dressed men chanting.
And Bill hears something just before this, a curious whirring noise. A small detail, maybe mechanical, adds another layer of the unexplained to the scene.
It does. Then they have that encounter, with a man described as the snake charmer again. He seems respectable enough, well-dressed, healthy, very fine teeth.
But he's probing, isn't he? Asking about their group, specifically asking about old Bill.
The children are clearly well briefed by Bill, though, because they react immediately. They use these clever evasion tactics. Jack and Philip signal the girls. Philip claims they're on a convalescence trip with their mother.
And Dinah's quick thinking with the fake Bill names is just brilliant. Bill Hilton, Bill Jordans, all the way to Bill Plonk. It completely throws the man off.
It's a great moment of ingenuity under pressure. But then the man asks about their launch's location. That's a more pointed question.
Yeah, and Jack, again thinking fast, prompts Lucienne to pretend to be sick.
Lucienne's performance is apparently convincing, wanting to go back. But the man insists they come. This is where his polite facade starts to crack just a little bit.
Their escape is decisive, though. Jack insists they return, and they actually flee, hiding and watching the man drive away. They rightly suspect he's a spy sent by Raya Uma. They note the white teeth, but aren't sure about the scar Bill mentioned.
Right, and this is where Kiki, the supposed security risk, becomes their unexpected savior.
Yeah. Confronted later by some youths and the snake charmer again, Kiki just unleashes police.
Yeah.
Police. And her perfect police whistle. That sound, that authority figure being invoked so unexpectedly, it completely terrifies the men. They scatter, the snake charmer even grabbing his snakes as he runs.
The children's relief is immense. They know how very, very lucky they were, thanks to Kiki. And Kiki, of course, is delighted with herself. Enormous chuckle, apparently.
It's a perfect example of how something you might dismiss can be incredibly valuable in a crisis. And speaking of unexpected encounters, right after this, they meet Ula.
Ah, Ula. A small boy runs out, takes Philip's hand, and actually kneels, begging to be taken with them. "Take me with you, Lord," he pleads.
Ula's story is just heartbreaking. His uncle, Beulah, who turns out to be the snake charmer they just fled, has left him there. He calls Beulah a bad man who hits him, and he even shows the children bruises and wheals.
This puts the children in such a difficult position. Lucienne is immediately moving, "Poor little Ula, can't we take him?"
But Philip voices the hard reality, doesn't he? They can't save every suffering creature they see. He lists a mangy dog, a poor donkey, a thin baby they've already passed. It's tough.
Their proposed solution is practical, but maybe, emotionally inadequate. Philip offers money, which Ula rejects. Ula offers to be a servant. Ula be servant.
So Philip suggests taking him to a nearby first aid tent, promising they'll look after you there.
But Ula's reaction confirms that their solution isn't what he wanted or needed. He goes disconsolately, but then flees as soon as they reach the tent, and the nurse wailing as he runs off.
Yeah, the girls are left in tears, and Jack feels awful, like they let Ula down badly, even though he doesn't see what else they could have done right then.
It's a really tough moment. Highlights the complexities of trying to help in a world with just so much hardship. So, back on the launch, they report everything to Bill over lunch.
They mention the man only asked for Bill, not the surname. Bill confirms that's likely all a spy would know, and he's apparently quite amused by Dinah's stream of fake Bill names.
His assessment aligns with theirs. Likely a spy of Raya Uma's, but probably not Uma himself. He notes Uma wouldn't operate so openly.
Right, and he correctly deduces Uma must be out here if he has spies asking questions. And he's clearly pleased they kept his surname secret. Vital information.
Then Philip tells him about the snake charmer incident and Kiki's role. Bill's reaction is immediate and pretty stern.
Yeah, he calls it serious. This kind of thing won't do, he says, and orders them never to wander in the native quarters again. Understandable, really.
The children tried to defend their actions regarding Ula, arguing they couldn't just stand by while he was being beaten, but Bill pushes back hard.
He clarifies that if they're going to jump into a brawl, the boy's first duty is always the girl's safety. He says the boy should have stopped the man while the girls went for help.
It's a sharp lesson in responsibility and teamwork, and the boys apologize, taking it to heart.
Bill then gives his take on Ciné-Town. Extraordinary. Ugly and queer, but it's quite fascinating. He mentions the fair, the hoopla stalls, gambling, dancing girls, fire eater, the fellow climbing a ladder of knives.
Philip wants to see the fire eater naturally, but Bill refuses. He's prioritizing getting to Alawiyah for news of Uma.
Right. The plan is set. Leave soon, arrive around 6 p.m., spend the night offshore. Tala is called to prepare, and the children settle down to read books Bill gave them about the region and ancient civilizations.
That night at Alawiyah, Bill goes ashore alone around 9 p.m., slips off like a shadow to meet someone. This just reinforces that sense that there's definitely a hidden mission happening here.
Mrs. Cunningham and the children settle down on deck under the mosquito nets. The boys are awake, talking in whispers, while Tala is snoring away. And then, the unexpected return.
Philip feels a shadow, then Ula is there, holding him tightly. Lord, Ula follow you, Ula here.
The noise wakes everyone but Tala.
Yeah.
Chaos with the mosquito nets, torches are lit, and the sight is striking Ula kneeling, clasping Philip's knees, saying, "Ula yours, Lord, Ula belong you."
Philip explains, probably trying to process it himself, that it's the boy from Ciné-Town who has somehow followed them all the way here, running along the banks.
Ula confirms it. "Ula follow boat, all way, all way. Ula run." Jack is just astonished. Fancy running all the way.
Mrs. Cunningham examines Ula by torchlight, and her reaction is horror. He's absolutely covered in bruises and wheals, as thin as a rake, confirms he must have run for miles and miles.
This physical evidence just changes everything. Philip's reaction is deeply emotional, his heart suddenly full of pity and affection. He's devastated thinking of Ula's journey.
And he realizes Ula was injured because Philip tried to help him earlier with the snake charmer uncle. He wonders if Ula has ever known kindness before.
And just at that moment, Bill returns, leaps aboard, and stops dead at the sight of Ula. Demands to know what on earth is happening.
Ula crouches, trembling at Bill's loud voice. Philip quickly reassures him. Bill's initial response, though, is suspicion.
Yeah, he thinks it's a trick, that Ula is a thief sent by his uncle. He orders him off the boat immediately. Just a trick, he says.
But Mrs. Cunningham stops Ula, and she turns him to show Bill his back in the torchlight.
Bill's reaction is immediate shock. Good heavens, who did that? Seeing the bruises, how half-starved he looks, it softens his tone completely. He asks Ula why he came, promising nothing will harm you.
Ula's reason is so simple, so powerful in its devotion. I come find him, pointing straight at Philip. I make him my lord, Ula his servant.
Ula, bring present for Lord. That concept of Ula offering a present despite having absolutely nothing is incredibly poignant.
And this is where Philip's earlier interaction with Beulah's snake comes back into play. Ula was holding that snake when Beulah was confronted and was injured then.
Right. Philip examines the snake Ula was forced to carry and realizes its poison ducts have been cut. It's harmless.
It connects Philip directly to Ula's pain and explains why Ula might see him as a kind of rescuer. Philip decides to keep the harmless snake, telling Ula not to harm snakes, calling it cruel.
Ula's desire is just so clear. Ula stay. Ula Lord's man. Belong him. He wants to belong to Philip.
Bill, weary from his own mission, agrees Ula can stay for the night anyhow. Says he'll wake Tala to sleep with him. Mrs. Cunningham is ready with ointment for his back and asks about the snake.
Philip says he'll keep it in his pocket.
Then Philip takes a leap, doesn't he? Asks Bill if Ula can stay permanently, help Tala, promises he won't be a nuisance.
Lucien gives the simple, emotional reason. You rescued him from that awful uncle of his. Meanwhile, Dinah is still utterly terrified of snakes and actually hides in the broom cupboard.
Jack has to fetch her, unsuccessfully trying to convince her the snake is harmless.
Despite all the family chaos, Ula's loyalty is fixed. He creeps back to sleep at Philip's feet, guarding him, believing no one could come near Philip without waking Ula. A real bond forming there.
In the morning, Tala wakes first. He expects Ula to be gone, seems disappointed and hostile seeing him still there. Tries to make Ula go back to his quarters, even raises a hand to strike him.
But Ula refuses to leave Philip's side. He hides briefly, then comes right back. His face shows pride and admiration for Philip, and he even talks to the snake, recognizing its connection to his lord.
More morning chaos erupts when Dinah sees the snake's head poking out of Philip's pocket, demands it's removed from the boat immediately.
Understandable. So the discussion about Ula's future continues. Bill initially leans towards just putting him ashore with some money.
But Mrs. Cunningham strongly advocates for keeping him, to give him a chance, feed him up. She sees him as this miserable little specimen with big, frightened eyes, expecting only blows.
Bill worries Ula will be a nuisance to Philip, always under flight. But Philip says he can handle it, wouldn't mind.
The other children chime in, wanting to keep Ula, promising to keep him in his place. Even Dinah, despite his smell, wish he was cleaner and not so smelly, but I like him, agrees.
So Bill, influenced by the obvious need, and let's face it, his family's pleadings, makes the decision. Give Ula a trial. He calls for Ula, whose heart is apparently thumping, fearing the worst.
Bill tells Ula he can stay, but he must obey Tala. Little Master, with Bill being Big Master. Ula is just overwhelmed with joy, eyes shining, expressing gratitude, reaffirming his loyalty. Ula, Lord's servant, looks at Philip with one big smile.
Tala, who is clearly listening nearby, comes forward with a sulky face when Bill calls him. Bill gives the instructions: wash him, no stealing, work hard, report good and bad behavior.
Tala bows grimly, makes a big show of sniffing Ula, bad smell, poo, and sends him away to get cleaned.
And just as the tension lifts, Kiki interrupts, calls Tala by name, gives orders: wipe your feet. Does the police whistle again?
Oh, Kiki.
This makes Tala burst into laughter. Thinks Kiki is the funniest thing ever. Bill tells Kiki to stop whistling. She starts chanting, din 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 dinner. Jack taps her beak. She mutters rude things. It's just wonderfully chaotic.
It confirms Ula's place, diffuses the tension with Tala, and highlights Kiki's unique personality yet again. So as their journey continues, the trip actually becomes pleasant again. Sun shines, Tala navigates close to the shaded bank.
Ula is kept busy by Tala, but his focus remains on Philip, whispering, Ula is here to guard you. He even stays awake guarding Philip and the snake while the others sleep. Real dedication.
A fascinating development is Ula's interest in the launch's motor. Tala is apparently amazed by how quickly he grasps the details.
Though Tala threatens to throw Ula overboard when the boy actually wants to drive. Ula drive boat. Ula know how.
Ula is eager for any work, though, even cleaning oil and polishing. And Tala, having cleaned Ula up, even expresses a sort of grudging pride, no smell now, no poo, although he was apparently too rough on the bruises.
Ula gets a new blue cloth and is proud. It shows Tala is slowly accepting him, albeit with plenty of grumbles.
They arrive at Ulabade, described as a pleasant village. Bill goes ashore alone again, this time to meet a native teacher at the school. Shows a card, speaks quietly, reinforcing that sense of a hidden mission.
While Bill's busy, the children wander off. Kiki is unusually silent, just watching them. They meet a boy selling postcards of Aru in the temple of the goddess Hanar.
And they decide to visit, spontaneously.
The trek to the temple involves following the boy, but then they get trailed by this excited crowd of local children, probably hoping for a tip. Ula follows secretly, keeping them in sight, but not joining in.
Kiki again comes to the rescue when the crowd gets too close. Uses her back, quack, 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 B-A-C, and then that airplane crash imitation to scatter them far away. Quite the crowd control technique.
At the temple ruin itself, though, the disappointment is palpable. It's much more of a ruin than the picture, described as being like one of those buildings in Ciné-Town. All front, but not much at the back.
Another example of appearance versus reality, isn't it? Echoing that fake town. And Philip, ever focused on his interests, lets his snake out near some insects thinking it might be hungry.
Much to Dinah's horror, of course.
That small action with the snake might seem insignificant right now, but it has a really surprising payoff much later in the story. Back on the launch, Tala is annoyed Gula slipped off.
But Ula's explanation that he followed to guard them changes Tala's tune slightly, though the text says he remains secretly jealous. Interesting dynamic there.
Bill returns with information from the teacher. The teacher knows Uma, finds him interesting, and believes Uma is studying old temples. But Bill knows the truth.
Right, he says. That's just a cover for something else he's doing.
This is a critical insight Bill has gathered. Uma's entire public persona as an archaeologist is just a front for his real activities, whatever they are.
And then Mr. Raya Uma himself arrives, guided by Tala's lantern. His appearance matches the description: medium-sized, summer clothes, beard, mustache, dark glasses, and those very white teeth. Polite manner, bows.
The children give their names. Uma even asks about Kiki, calling her an unusual pet. Mrs. Cunningham repeats their cover story about the flu and convalescence. Uma asks Bill's profession.
Bill says he writes articles, maybe a book. Uma comments on the leisure a writer has for travel. The children realize Uma doesn't know Bill's true identity or purpose. They sense Bill is winning this subtle game of cat and mouse.
Uma extends an invitation for Bill and his wife to have dinner at a shack downriver in a place called Chaldo. Bill accepts, hoping to learn more. They agree on the next evening.
And here's where we see the facade drop, just for a second. As Uma leaves, he trips over Ula, who's crouching outside. Uma instantly loses his temper, roars, actually kicks Ula, yelling furiously.
That sudden explosion of rage is such a stark contrast to his polite demeanor. It reveals a violent streak right beneath the surface. Philip is angry, defends Ula, but Bill warns him, recognizing the danger.
The children plan their evening supper on the launch, read, bed, with Tala in charge. But then the first message from Uma arrives via his servant, Jali. Uma has changed his mind, apparently. The children can go to watch a village wedding dance.
They're excited naturally, but Bill firmly refuses. Cites safety, the potential for their presence to be resented. Seems sensible.
But then, the TRAP is sprung. Jali returns again with another message that Uma has changed his mind again, and they can go after all. Tala confirms his Jali.
This flip-flopping feels immediately wrong to the children, doesn't it? As they walk with the surly Jali, it feels like a long way. Both Jack and Philip feel uneasy.
Philip correctly suspects the message is fake, a way to get them off the boat so Uma can search it while Bill and Mrs. Cunningham are away at the supposed dinner. He knows Bill wouldn't just keep changing his mind like this.
Their unease proves vital. At Jack's signal, Lucienne feigns illness again. I don't feel... wants to go back. The others support her.
Jack tells Jali they have to return. Jali initially refuses, no, come. But Jack's anger forces him to give up. He points them back towards the river and just flees. Smart kids.
They reach the river just as Jack reflects, river of adventure. My word, it's living up to its name. They escape the trap.
But the real shock is yet to come. Ula emerges from the trees, distressed. Bad men come. Bad man.
Oh, no.
And he leads them to the jetty, where they make the horrifying discovery. The launch is gone.
Just gone.
Ula is their key witness. He explains, bad men come, put Bill and Mrs. Cunningham on the launch, tied Tala up like a sack of rubbish, and took the boat downriver towards a place called Woody. Ula hid and watched everything.
This confirms Philip's suspicion. Uma knew Bill was more than just a writer. He's captured Bill and Mrs. Cunningham neatly, and the children were supposed to be neatly put out of the way via Jali's fake invitation. They realize Ula literally saved them from being left stranded.
They find Tala tied up nearby, groaning. After untying him, he corroborates Ula's story. It wasn't Uma himself, but his servants, the bad men. They took Bill and Mrs. Cunningham downriver towards Woody.
Their immediate problem is severe. Stranded, at night, no boat, no clear path. But Ula steps up again, offering to show them the way.
And where does he lead them? To Uma's own motorboat, tied up nearby. Ula calls it the bad man's boat.
Why didn't he take that?
Jack speculates it was left behind deliberately to conceal the fact that their launch was taken. Makes sense.
Ula suggests they take the boat. Tala is understandably hesitant. He's never driven a motorboat, and it's pitch dark. But the children persuade him they have to.
Their desperate escape begins. Tala drives clumsily at first, but the motorboat is much faster than their old launch. They speed downriver for about an hour, talking quietly. Ula is apparently just happy to be near Philip, confident the children can defeat Uma.
They decide to tie up for the night, though. Don't want to miss Woody in the dark. They find a tree in a deserted spot and manage to get some sleep. Ula, always vigilant, guards Philip.
The next morning they wake to Dinah screaming because the Barga snake is basking on Philip's shoulder.
Oh, dear. That snake again.
The snake quickly vanishes. Exploring Uma's boat reveals some intriguing items. Food stores, drinks, though the water tank is empty, but crucially, ropes, powerful torches, and grappling hooks.
Grappling hooks.
Yeah, tools often used for climbing. Jack recognizes them immediately.
This discovery connects right back to Uma's supposed archaeology hobby, doesn't it?
Mm.
Dinah suggests the grappling hooks are for digging or exploring ruins. Jack agrees Uma seems serious about the archaeology part, finding books about it too.
It really makes you wonder about Uma's motive again. Is the archaeology just a cover? Or is the archaeology itself important to him, but maybe for finding treasure rather than studying history? The tools suggest he's preparing for some serious physical exploration.
Their plan is now clearer. Eat, study Uma's books for clues or maps, get water and bread at the next safe village, definitely not Woody, and continue the search.
Kiki provides a moment of levity by eating pineapple and loudly declaring, "All gone, send for the doctor."
They stop at a place called Hoa Village, confirm it's not Woody, and Tala and Ula go ashore for water and bread. They're gone quite a long time, causing some worry.
Tala returns, claiming he's gathered intelligence. Basically, village gossip. Everyone knows Uma, diggy diggy dig, and they say he knows where big treasure is. Much gold, they whisper.
Jack dismisses this as just gossip, sticking to his belief that Uma's digging as a cover for something else, though he still doesn't know what. He's probably right not to trust village rumors entirely.
As they sail on, the river changes dramatically. It becomes very peculiar, smaller, murky, with desolate banks of sand and dust hillocks. An eerie change.
Tala becomes visibly frightened. He wants to go back now, claims it's a bad river, deep, deep water, and that the boat sounds different. He's really spooked.
The children, needing to press on, decide to continue for just half an hour more, agreeing to turn back if they find nothing. A compromise.
But Tala refuses point blank to start the motor. The boys' hearts sink. They know they can't let him dictate terms now, or they'll never get anywhere.
And in a stunning display of loyalty and, frankly, bravery, Ula steps up. He suddenly starts the motor himself, saying, "Ula, obey Lord. Ula, drive boat for Lord."
The boat shoots forward into the strange part of the river.
Wow, Ula really takes charge there.
Just ahead, though, they hear the terrifying roar of a huge waterfall. They are in immediate, serious danger.
Oh, my goodness. But Tala and Ula's quick sight saves them. Just before the falls, they spot a break in the cliff face, a big hole. Ula, despite his inexperience, expertly swings the boat sharply left, bumping their way into a cavern hidden behind the waterfall curtain.
They're safe. That moment showcases incredible quick thinking and teamwork under extreme pressure from both Tala and Ula. Save them from disaster.
Inside the cavern, it's dark and damp. They eat some food from the boat, and Tala, proud of helping save them, Tala, brave man, feels a bit better.
Exploring the cavern, Tala spots something through a small hole bricks. Philip shines his torch, revealing a brick wall. Old bricks. Very, very old, Tala says, like ones his father dug up deep, deep down.
Jack immediately speculates it could be ancient tombs or passages for kings and queens deep underground. Philip suggests using Uma's books to figure out where they actually are, maybe find something about this waterfall.
Tala knocks the wall and it just collapses into dust. Tala clever, he declares. Ula pushes past him and finds an underground way, a passage leading down.
Excitement overtakes caution again. This feels like the best adventure ever, but it's clearly dangerous.
Ula, always wanting to protect Philip, insists on going first down the sloping passage. Steep steps are cut into the side, a rope hangs down. Danger here, Lord. Ula, go first.
But Ula immediately slips on the rotten steps and tumbles down with a series of bumps. Bup, bup, bup. Luckily, he's not badly hurt, but wants to climb back up. Philip tells him not to try, realizing how treacherous the steps are.
Jack points out the harsh reality Ula inadvertently saved Philip from falling. They realize the steps are rotten and incredibly unstable. Idiots not to think of that, Jack says.
They wait for Tala to go back to the boat for more rope. While waiting, they talk about finding a way out, acknowledging how precarious their situation really is. Tala returns with rope and, sensibly, one of Uma's grappling hooks.
They secure a rope and manage to pull Ula back up. Philip thanks him. Thanks for falling down instead of me, but don't do it again. Ula just says, Ula guard, Lord.
They decide it's too late and dangerous to explore further that night. Plan is to head back to the boat, eat, rest, and study Uma's books in the morning, then explore properly with ropes.
Back in the cavern, they eat. Kiki hiccups.
Hiccup, pardon. Tala's laugh echoes strangely, disturbing dust that settles with queer little sighs, which spooks Tala and Ula. Jack makes Tala pick up their litter modern newspapers, looking very out of place.
Philip starts reading Uma's notes from the books he found, and here's a major aha moment about Uma's real motive. This place does interest him intensely.
So the archaeology wasn't entirely fake.
It seems his real business is archaeology, but not for history's sake. He's after the priceless treasure they have now stumbled upon. He's not just a spy, he's a mean, ordinary robber, as Philip puts it.
They realize Uma likely kidnapped Bill and their mother because he was close to finding this treasure and wanted them out of the way. The worry intensifies. Uma is coming for this treasure, and he'll steal it. They search the vast underground chambers again, looking for another exit, feeling tired and oppressed by the musty air. Ula is miserable. The only apparent way out is back up those rotten steps to the boat and then somehow escaping the cavern itself. Jack doubts they can climb the cliff outside.
Dispirited, they head back towards the steps. Ula, maybe energized by the thought of leaving the scary chambers, offers to go up first with the rope and hook. He climbs like a cat, determined to help, slips once but recovers.
As they prepare for the others to climb, they suddenly hear it tapping and knocking sounds coming through the wall right beside the passage. It's terrifying.
Who could it be?
They quickly realize it must be Uma and his men trying to break through from the other side. Philip figures Uma must have found a map, dug down to this level, and is trying to access the passage.
While scary, it also represents a potential way out, but they worry Uma will get to the treasure before they can stop him or escape.
The wall gives way. Stones fall. Shouts are heard in Tala's language. Tala realizes these supposed gods or spirits are just men, ordinary men.
Lights shine, and men come stumbling through the new hole into the passage. They see the children and Tala, panic completely, and flee back the way they came. Men frightened, Ula observes, stating the obvious.
This gives the children a sudden opportunity. They can go through the hole themselves. Philip is ready to go, but Jack is hesitant, feeling they are comparatively safe here for the moment. Tala agrees the men likely won't come back right away. Jack still fears Uma is waiting just on the other side.
And then Uma appears at the hole, but he's in disguise. A man in a turban and robes, speaking politely with a not quite English voice. He claims Uma is sad he frightened them, says Uma himself was startled. Very smooth.
And here's where Philip's earlier suspicion crystallizes into a definite aha moment. He realizes this man, I.S. Uma, notes his daring and cunning qualities that would absolutely lead him to try this disguise.
Jack confirms it. He saw the snake-like scar on the man's right arm as he gestured the very scar Bill had mentioned as Uma's unique identifier. Dinah is amazed at Uma's sheer nerve, but relieved they knew about the scar.
Armed with this certain knowledge, the boys confront him. Philip steps forward and tells Uma they know exactly who he is, mentioning the scar and calling his ways surely as cunning as a snake's.
Uma drops the disguise instantly, screaming, completely losing his temper. He threatens to block the hole, trapping them underground for good. "You bring it upon yourselves," he shouts.
Jack tries a bold bluff, claiming they'll use the other way out. This is not the only way in. Uma yells for his men to block the hole, but they are hesitant at first, still spooked from before. He yells again in their native language, and two men reluctantly appear.
Uma then turns on Tala, fiercely threatening him in their language. Tala infuriates Uma by feigning ignorance in English. Tala not know. Tala translates Uma's threats for the children, calling him a bad man.
Then Tala does something bold. He spits at Uma.
Yeah.
Uma throws his torch in fury, hitting Tala. Tala, resilient as ever, just picks up the torch and keeps it. A small victory.
The children are frightened now, expecting to be tied up so Uma can steal the treasure. Dinah calls Uma a beast. They know they can't possibly fight all the men.
Jack suggests making a run for it, climbing back through the hole to the boat. Philip hesitates, worried about leaving the treasure unguarded for Uma to take. But Lucien sees the men starting to come through the hole. Too late now to run.
As the men enter the passage, Kiki sees them and lets out a series of piercing screeches. Startles the men yet again.
Tala laughs heartily at the men's fear, and Ula actually dances, thinking the trouble is over because the men are scared. Maybe a bit premature.
But then they spot at the real exit. High up in the passage ceiling, a light is visible. Philip looks up and sees it's a shaft going straight up, with steps cut into the side and a rope hanging down.
This is their unexpected path to freedom, hidden in plain sight all along. As Philip says, it's our only chance of escape. They have to take it.
The climb up the shaft is arduous. Long, difficult, bad footholds, a thin rope. Philip reaches the top first, completely worn out, finds a small tunnel leading to a shorter shaft, and there it is, daylight. His heart leapt. Daylight again.
The others follow, making it up safely, though Tala complains about his hands burning on the rope. Philip gives him a handkerchief. He looks for his snake, but doesn't really expect it made the climb. The second shaft is easier, with a rope ladder, and they reach the surface quickly.
Heaven to stand in the daylight again, Lucienne exclaims, blinking in the sun. They find themselves in this desolate spot, like a builder's yard in the middle of a dusty, sandy desert. Very strange.
They see Uma's men nearby, bending over something on the ground. One runs towards the children, prostrates himself, and speaks urgently in the native language.
And Ula translates the astonishing, almost unbelievable news. He say, Bargwa snake bite his master. His master very frightened will die because Bargwa poison snake. He say, Mr. Uma wants to speak with you.
The irony. The ultimate irony. Uma, the cunning villain, brought down because he believes the harmless snake, the very one Philip had noted had its poisoned ducks cut, is fatal.
Knowing the truth, the children can't help but smile. Dinah confirms even a harmless snake can still bite. They decide to go and speak to Uma, who is evidently feeling very sorry for himself.
And he is. Uma is lying on the ground, absolutely terrified, face white, groaning, clutching his arm, convinced he's dying. He pleads with Philip to take him to Ciné-Town at once for a doctor, saying Philip will have caused his death unless he helps.
Philip, seeing this man who just tried to trap them, maybe even kill them, and certainly rob the place, is scornful. But he sees an opportunity. He sternly demands to know if Bill and his mother are safe at Woody.
Desperate, Uma confesses immediately. Yes, they are at Woody with the launch. He wants to go there right now so Bill can take him to the Ciné-Town doctor. He begs for mercy, clinging to the idea that it was your snake that bit me.
Philip turns away, scorning this man, who begs for mercy after trying to brick them up underground. But he tells Tala to arrange transport using a nearby lorry and van that belonged to Uma's operation.
Uma, still convinced he's poisoned, goes in the van while the children, Tala and Ula, take the lorry. Philip tells Tala to drive the lorry and be ready to race them to safety if there's any hint of trickery.
There's no trickery. Uma's panic is completely genuine. It's a long, jolting ride across rough ground to Woody. Uma is groaning and rolling about in the van the whole way, simulating symptoms, utterly believing the harmless bite is killing him.
They finally arrive at a shack in Woody. The driver unlocks it, and out comes Bill, looking more furious than the children had ever seen him. He demands Uma.
The driver explains the snake bite. Bill is completely unsympathetic, as you can imagine. Jack and Philip run to him, and Bill's just amazed to see them, thinks he might be dreaming.
Philip quickly explains the whole situation. Uma thinks he's fatally bitten, needs a doctor, and in his panic, confessed Bill and Mother were at Woody with the launch, hoping to secure a ride.
Bill's reaction is perfect, isn't it? Thinks he's been fatally bitten, does he? Then perhaps he would like to confess a few things. Classic Bill. He tells the boys to find the launch and tell Uma he's coming, then goes to get his wife.
Philip, anxious about his mother, goes with Bill to the shack. Jack finds Uma, who is pale and groaning, calling the bite punishment for being a wicked man. He tells Jack the launch is just by the riverside. The fight has gone out of him.
Mrs. Cunningham comes out with Bill. She seems perfectly fine, cheerful even, having heard a summary from Philip. Bill and Mrs. Cunningham are astonished by the children's adventures, having been merely cooped up in a silly shack the whole time. They had no idea.
They all drive to the river. Bill gets in the van with Uma, who, weakened by panic and guilt, apparently pours out confessions during the ride. Mrs. Cunningham hears more of the children's truly hair-raising story in the lorry. Kiki greets her joyfully. Pleased to meet you. Uma continues groaning dramatically in the van, prompting Bill to briefly wonder if the snake was actually harmless after all. But of course, it was.
So as the adventure winds down, there's a lot to unpack for everyone. The children need to explain everything to Bill and Mrs. Cunningham, and Bill and the others need to talk to the police. Uma is taken away by much-amused police officers who've heard the incredible story of his downfall by imaginary snakebite. Bill sums it up perfectly. Crime simply does not pay. A bit cliché, but fitting here.
Philip wonders if Uma learned his lesson, though Bill realistically thinks he'll just vanish from public life. Bill notes that Philip's snake repaid you well for your kindness to him, which is a fascinating perspective on the whole thing.
Philip wishes he got the snake back, says he liked him, prompts Dinah to immediately warn Ula not to bring him any more snakes if he says things like that.
It feels wonderful for them to finally relax on the launch, recounting everything. Bill is astonished by their experiences, rushing down gorges, crawling through holes, exploring age-old treasures while he was stuck. Jack compliments the girls, saying they were marvelous, good as boys any day. High praise.
Conversation naturally turns to the temple they found. Mrs. Cunningham explains the complex, years-long process of proper archaeological excavation, sieving the earth carefully, not the haphazard treasure hunting Uma was doing. Lucienne is disappointed they can't stay for it.
Bill is surprised they want more excitement, after having enough adventures to last the ordinary person for the rest of his life. Philip just counters that perhaps they aren't ordinary people.
Dinah agrees, pointing to Philip taking a snake everywhere and jokes he'll adopt a camel next.
Philip, remembering seeing a baby camel, actually jokes about getting one as a prize for finding the temple. Mrs. Cunningham's reaction is immediate horror camels grow big, wrong climate, rose beds. Philip quickly backs down. Bill just grins, enjoying the absurdity.
Jack expresses a desire to revisit their discovery someday, wants to show the unbelievable waterfall to Aunt Allie, and asks if they'll be allowed to explore the temple properly, seeing that we found it. Fair question.
Just then, Ula's head appears, asks if he can show the waterfall to the kind missus. Philip invites him to tell his own story. Ula recounts it proudly, this small, lithe figure still with the marks of bruises and wheels, but clearly transformed by the experience.
Mrs. Cunningham calls him a good little boy and a brave one, promising they shall never forget you. Ula's focus, though, returns to Philip, asks if his lord remember Ula, too, looking at him with love in his eyes. It's very moving.
Philip promises always, and invites Ula to be their guide when they return sometime in the future to see the excavated temple. Ula makes these earnest promises: keep clean, go to school, do as his lord says, bows deeply and disappears, his eyes shining with proud tears.
There's a pause after he's gone. Everyone agrees they liked him very much indeed, realizing Ula himself was as astonishing a find as any of the treasures in the temple. What a character arc for him.
Finally, Mrs. Cunningham reveals their travel plans home. They're going by sea, meaning they shan't be home for a week or more. The children are thrilled by the prospect of more travel.
Lucienne wonders if they'll be fit for school after all this supposed convalescence, but Mrs. Cunningham assures them they are as fit as fiddles.
And Kiki gets the last word, or sound. Fiddles. Fiddly-dee.
Yeah.
Jack playfully tells her not to pick his ear off.
The story ends beautifully, with them just sitting in silence, listening to the river flow past, lapping against the boat. A moment of peace after all that chaos.
And that brings us back from this incredible deep dive into adventure. Right. Wow, we tracked that journey from secret travel plans and strange fake towns.
Right, all the way to kidnapping, a thrilling escape behind a waterfall, the discovery of ancient treasure.
And an antagonist brought down not by force, but by his own fear and the bite of a completely harmless snake. You couldn't make it up.
We pulled out some really significant threads here for you. How appearances can be so deceiving, whether it's a fake town, a fake temple, or, a disguised villain like Uma.
And we saw the immense value of quick thinking and teamwork under pressure, escaping Jelly's trap, the kids working together, Ula driving that motorboat towards the waterfall. Incredible moments.
We witnessed the surprising, often unintended consequences of actions, too. Philip's brief interaction with that snake ending up being the key to Uma's downfall. Or Ula's painful circumstances leading to his fierce loyalty, which was just critical in saving the children multiple times.
And perhaps most powerfully, we saw those profound and unexpected connections that can form in really desperate circumstances, like the bond between Philip and Ula, a relationship forged in kindness and loyalty that proved, arguably, more valuable than any gold.
This wasn't just a ripping yarn. By really delving into the text, we found insights into human nature, resourcefulness, courage, and the surprising ways that help and discovery can appear when you least expect them.
So, as you think about this story, maybe consider how often in your own life the seemingly insignificant, a brief interaction, a small detail you might overlook, turns out to be the most crucial element in charting your course forward, or maybe just understanding the bigger picture.
Or perhaps, just maybe, ponder whether the most valuable treasures we find aren't always the things buried deep underground, but those unexpected connections we make with other people along the adventure of life itself.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.